Okay, so this is a replay review of a Celestial 3 Loki. Definitely seems like everyone wants me to review Loki, right? I have been practicing with it more recently though, to try and be able to give better advice on him. Yeah, I like you're stabbing that wall. That does a lot for your team. Very good. I think it's fine to dedicate your clones to just pocketing your team as they push into point here in the initial choke. I do think, actually, looking back on it now, we were focusing a little bit too much on. I'm not actually sure what we're really shooting at here. This is where all the action's happening. Yeah, I think if we were focusing the. Here, let's put it back more, less nitpicky and more actually giving you a system here. So I do see there's a few on the left there, right? But I mean, look at the right. This is where all the action's happening on the right here. Both your front lines are up here. So if you're hitting these people, you're going to be giving the value of also healing your team. This is just kind of a bit of a nothing burger firing shot, like pot shots here. We also should have E-shifted the second that Strange like lost like half his HP. Like right there, that's E-shift, like panic E-shift. Yeah, we used our E-shift a little late. So I will say, I do like the idea of, hey, I've got my defensive really fast. I don't think that the enemy supports have their defensive yet, so let's roll them over. That's 100% a good idea, but in order for that to work, you need to have a majority of your team up, right? Not be down numbers big time. And I know this Johnny Storm was arguably playing not in a great position because we couldn't really heal him there. Um, but I think we need to be aware of, maybe you don't need to be like, throwing the game by trying to come out here and save this guy who's positioned wrong, but we do need to be aware of, hey, this guy might die, right? So we need to keep that in consideration for our decisions regarding other aspects of the game, like the ultimate. So with your Strange already dead and coming back, right? You're doing this in a position where one of your teammates might die before you can ult, which does happen. And their team is relatively far back here, right? And if we do want to use a defensive ulti aggressively to try and wipe them out before they have a chance to react, it needs to be in a position where they really can't fall back, right? Like this could, like, if your team was like here, like let's say Hulk was here, or actually Hulk's in a good spot. Let's say Hela was like right here, Torch was alive like right here, and your Strange was like right here, and you ulted like right here, right? And if you're able to walk into them, that can work. Okay, but the problem is these guys are playing relatively safe, and you don't have the numbers. So while I do like this conceptually, this situation, it doesn't work. At this point, this is not a time where we ult aggressively here. We kind of just need to give this point where stall. We can have this guy stall as long as he wants, but I mean, considering we just lost Torch, this is kind of just a backup and regroup, because what I don't want to have happen is staggering. And right here, I mean, I actually haven't watched ahead yet, but I'm going to go ahead and make a gamble on what happens here. I think what happens is that your team stays alive in point because you have an ulti up. Maybe Hala pushes in, or maybe she stays back. One of the two. Your Strange is going to come back, and you'll have your whole team up, but then these guys are going to have an ult advantage and win because of ult advantage. That's my prediction here. Let's see what happens. Okay, so you've now used your second ultimate. They easily match it because they've got two. They're going to have another one in a second. Strange actually pushes in to just get the kill. And let's say right now, let's say that your team actually did do it better here, because you're getting kind of rolled right now, even regardless of the ultimate. But let's say that you guys did actually a little bit better, and we're contesting this. It's like, uh-oh, we're starting to lose a fight. Invisible Woman ulti. We win the fight now. Right, that's the issue that you're facing. And you guys don't really have any way of dealing with that. The only thing that could come in clutch maybe is Scarlet Witch ulti for killing through it, but they actually have a Penny. And Penny is really good at shutting down Scarlet Witch ult, so this is really going to be tough um, regarding their invis ulti. Okay, we ult in. Yeah, we're just non-vision contest. We don't have that defensive. I mean, you know, the defensive really actually didn't make a difference here because they just outright won the fight. But it's like even if they didn't outright win the fight, they would have won it with that ulti. That's what's gonna make the difference there.
Feel the wrath of the goddess!
Okay.
Feel the wrath of the goddess!
I would definitely copy Invis here. I mean, she's right in front of you. We can definitely react fast enough for the Storm ulti. It's worth it. Yeah. I think that might just come down to just, you know, practice awareness more. We should also be expecting a Storm ult since she hasn't used it yet. So you could also play just a little, let's see. Back up a little bit. I mean, you see her 91 to ulti here. You want to start thinking about where's my invis? I need to be ready to ult her.
Feel the wrath of the goddess!
Yeah, this is just, we do need to ult invis here, 100%. What is going on with the shift here? Oh, nah. Wait, is this shift for anything? Oh, nah. Okay, I mean, I don't know, maybe you misclick this. This honestly seems like it might have been a misclick. This is, you need to use your shift a bit more with a purpose. Saving a teammate, making it so your team can fight inside a ton of damage and not have to retreat for some specific reason. You need to use your shift with an actual purpose. Like, imagine if you had your shift there. Right here, shift. Like, you could clone shift if you had to, but I think even just walking out here, you could walk out and shift this.
Your powers are mine!
That actually worked out really, really well because they both ulted. Initially I'm kind of a little so about ulting Storm, but I think it's actually worth. I think it's worth because we do it in a way that forces out the defensive ulti. So I agree. That's good. The only thing I'd be careful of is if a team is smart, they are aware that they can just stand in a defensive ulti, and then they'll just burn you down. So you have to be a little careful. Like here, because I mean we should know that they have a defensive ulti. I really wouldn't be actually trying to kill them. I would be just be more forcing the ulti. And so the second that your ult lands, I'll actually start kind of pathing backwards a little bit because I mean they should be ulting that, right? There's no way they don't invis ult it. So you know, sitting them for like a second to make sure they actually do pop the ulti, but then just start coming back to your team immediately and ask your support to pocket you so that you don't die while you're coming back. Because you are vulnerable in Storm's ult. She can definitely die through the shield. I'm not really a great big fan of this shift because your mag isn't at risk of dying here. Neither are you. Like I know you're positioned kind of far up here, but you don't have to be. You could also just kind of stand here. I think this is relatively safe. And your strange is going in here. You've got a Hello on the right here. If you're putting a shift down anywhere, I want to see you put like a clone like maybe here and shift here. because this allows your Hela to play somewhere a bit more aggressive and safe. It also, you can see your Strange going in, it gives him a bit of pocketing. I think these shifts are too passive and they don't really help anyone that's under direct pressure right now that like needs it.
Your powers are mine!
Yeah, we definitely do not invis-ult this. This so far is the biggest mistake I've seen you make. Reason being, look at where the enemies are. All right, okay, here let's pretend we're the enemy team right now. If we're the enemy team attacking right here, what we want is to engage without putting ourselves at a disadvantage, right? And so if let's say if these guys have cloak and dagger ult, they're close to it, right? But you know, if they actually have to cloak and dagger ult out here to take this space, it's kind of bad for them because then you guys can respond with ulti when their ult's like halfway through, and then they're gonna have to use another one, and then you finish with your last defensive ulti, right? So you'll have an advantage because there'll be a period of time where you have a defensive and they don't, right? So what they ideally want to happen is to get a pick or to force out something before they've really committed to an engage, right? And this defensive ulti was not needed, alright? And what these guys see is, holy crap, they just used invis ulti, we're up a defensive ult now, which means we actually can be extremely aggressive with our first defensive ulti, or whatever. It doesn't. They could be using Storm ult here, right? They use Storm ult. Okay, they push in with Storm ulti, forces you guys them to use defensive ulti. All right, they don't have the second one either, and now they're just gonna win the fight. So this is really bad because the time that we do want to use a defensive ulti is when the enemy team is committing into us, right? But when these guys have actually commit to the fight and it's like a brawl, right? In big team fights like this, I kind of think there's like two stages. There's the kind of people are just trading stages, and then there is the point at which it's like a brawl, right? People are actually like frontline to frontline. It's not just like our team is here, their team is there. It's like our team is here, their team is also like jumbled in here, right? It's when they are committing to this fight and their team cannot just walk away. That is the ideal time to use your ultimate. Right here, I mean, look at your team's HP. Like, I think the lowest one on your team right now was you before you ulted, right? I mean, yeah, you took a little chunk, but I just, ping need healing, ask him if he'll kill you. Yeah. Not to mention, you also already used your shift, so you're really leaving yourself without that many options. Although I think I think your shift will probably be off cooldown by the time this all ends. Because now, this is actually very similar to what happened at the start of the game, if you remember. This is a situation where you ulted in a way where the enemy team can walk away, and then there's going to be a big fight that happens where you're at an ult disadvantage. And now what's going to happen is going to be the opposite of what happened before. Now the defensive team has an advantage where they're up a defensive ulti, which makes a very big difference, and they're going to be able to win with that advantage probably quite easily. So this is very bad. Here, let's. Oh, well, actually, I was gonna pause and predict it. I was gonna say I think they're gonna enter a cloak and dagger ulti here, and then you guys are gonna respond with invis ulti on point, and then they're gonna have invis ult after, and they're gonna win the fight. That's my prediction, unless your Scarlet gets some crazy ultimate inside their invis ulti. They actually did Magneto ult there, hook and dagger. That was good. Oh, actually, I want to go back to you for a second. This is a good shift. This shift is what we want. We did put it behind Mag and he's moving backwards, so just this is extremely nitpicky, but make sure you calm the maggots behind him just so he knows. But you're right. You put it in the right place though. So this actually hasn't gone an the absolute worst way it could have because we did mag ult their cloak and dagger, and his Cloak and Dagger, you need to respect Nag ulti, so they made a mistake there. That might not have happened though, right? So we got a little lucky there. It looks like they're gonna storm ult into our invis.
Feel the wrath of the by the eye of Agamotto!
Not in control.
Alright, so now let's imagine for a second, because I know this actually went better than it probably should have. But imagine you have your ulti still here. Imagine we didn't waste it, right? What's gonna happen here is Storm ult does nothing here basically because we countered it with our invis ulti. If they're storm ulting, they probably should have waited with invis for a second if they could have. But these ults are gonna all end, and then you would have your ult after, and that'll probably win you the fight.
A little help, please.
Because now this is really gonna be a bit of a 50-50. Another good use of shift. That's good. I will say one thing. I don't know. I wasn't really focusing on it. If you had the opportunity to, but one thing I will say is one of the best clones I've noticed on this map is sticking it right here. If this is your side of the map, you put it right here because this is really freaking hard for the enemies to notice. If you have one clone right, because I mean, here's obviously like an okay spot, but they see that, right? Because they're standing here. This is so freaking good. So if you have an opportunity to, you can put your clones here, or actually stand up here sometimes too. Just don't do it if you're against like a Spider-Man or something who's just gonna very quickly find this, and to kill you. But like definitely put your clone up here. Like this is super OP. Looks like we have Strange ulting above us, by the way. Oh, no, actually, he doesn't have ulti. I think maybe he's just blocking your Hela.
Glory is almost yours. I've called the spider.
Hmm. One thing I will say is you're playing on low ground a lot. Like teleporting up there and playing up there right now would make these shots a lot easier. I'd also consider you could maybe play up here. I know it can be a little scary versus different characters, but against this comp, seems relatively good. Other thing is they taught the Moon Knight, so you can't put your clones in your team, which you're not doing right now, which is good. But I'm just noticing we're kind of missing a lot of these shots on these guys, and we're also not being able to aim for feet and have it explode in the ground, which is one thing you want to do when you can as Loki, is make the shots as easy as possible for you to hit. Because um, I'm assuming you probably know this, but Loki splash damage, it doesn't matter how far away the splash damage is from your teammate, so long as they are within the radius of the uh, spell field. It will deal this, or it'll heal the same amount regardless of how far away they are from the center. So you can shoot on the ground to get maximum value anywhere like near your teammate where they'll be inside the radius. Not the same with damage though. Damage, you don't want to head it as close as possible. But that's one of the reasons playing on Loki on high ground when you can is good, is because it'll make these shots a lot easier to hit. And I think on this spot in particular, I don't think this is the best, especially if we're not shooting at a tank. Because I mean, tanks are a bit bigger and easier to hit, right? But little invis right here, I mean, look how many we're whiffing. Yeah. We're taking so long to heal her. Look at all the healing that Mag has left to do. Good shift. I mean, that is a good reaction because we are in a position where this is making a very big difference. I don't think putting the clone there is the right play in this position because we don't have our shift, so there's no point in having it like low ground with our team. We've actually already got one low ground anyways. I'd want to see this clone somewhere a bit more crafty. I would definitely think the spot that what the heck did I just do? I would be thinking the spot I mentioned right here. I mean, it's gonna see everyone you need it to. I mean, this sees pretty much the entire point, just not like right here because it's blocked by this center thing. Um, but right here, your team is all playing on the right side. This is a way better clone because it's not gonna get broken, right? And the thing about Loki is you don't want to have both two of your clones. Usually, like especially in the middle of brawls, you don't want both your clones right in front of the enemies. You want to have one that's more hidden, that is going to be up for a consistent healing, and is also an escape tool if possible. So having your other clone here is not as good. Uh, so I would recommend look for places where you can put high ground clones when it makes sense to, when it's possible, which is a lot of the time. Like right now, 100%. You put this here. And even if for some reason you didn't want to clone up here, you could play here, right? You put your clone up here and teleport there. Like, we're missing out on an opportunity to have much easier time getting consistent heals out here. I also don't really like our positioning. We're kind of running around right in front of everyone. We're positioning like a different support right now. We're positioning like Invis, because this is the position Invis would be in, because she's obviously she has a limit to her range and her thing, and she wants to get the particle hitting the enemies and allies. And she has a push and can instantly turn invisible, which I know you can't too, but she jumps away, so it's a bit better.
Your powers are mine!
If you look, their team is like really low right now. But in general, this is kind of good. It's a team. It's a situation where the enemy's committed, and we want to ult. And the reason that this is a lot better than the other ults you did is the enemy team wouldn't have the option of just walking away and waiting for your ult to end. They would have to either just die because they don't respond to the defensive ulti, or they have to respond with a defensive ulti very soon, meaning that they won't have a bunch of like there's going to be a big overlap time between your ultis, meaning that they won't have a long period after you ult where they have a defensive ulti and you don't, giving them an advantage, right? So that's kind of what will be better, right? You see. The main thing I don't really like is the fact that they kind of already lost the fight. It was a decent round. The issue I have with it though is, of course, we're not making the best use of our ultis. That's the big thing. That we're also using shift a bit when we shouldn't be, um, and we could look for more opportunity for placing clones on high ground and us ourselves playing high ground. That is, of course, something that takes more practice, is knowing when to do that. Okay, I'm seeing you just so. I do get we're doing this because we want to keep our armada up and get a bunch of damage off, but the problem is think about what's going to happen once we deal with this. Like, by all means, it's kind of similar to a defensive ult. The enemy team can just see this and walk away for a second. I mean, if I see this, I'm not going to walk into 3 clones being pocketed by this. I'm just going to wait a second for that to go away, and then our team can start picking off these clones here, right? And that's going to then leave you with no shift, and, I mean, by the time these break, you'll probably have 1 clone back. Um, but you really don't want to use everything in one go. I'm down for like having our clones like behind our team here. Maybe we could have them in the same kind of position, but let our strange walk out first. That way these clones aren't like instantly dying. And if the enemies are trying to shoot the clones, it's harder because they're going to be shooting Strange, who's body blocking, right? And then our clones can pocket Strange. That can be good. I don't like us instantly putting both our clones then right where the enemies see them in a way that forces us to use our shift, because our shift is too good to use like that. Like, if our shift only affected our clones, sure, this would be an excellent use of them, right? But our shift is a lot more than that. So I would be more hesitant to use it like this. But I'll say it more strongly. Don't use your shift like this. If using your shift like this to keep your clones alive should be very situational. Only if it's like, I need my clones alive to win this fight right now, right? And like, if my clones die right here, we lose this fight. I need my clones right now. That is like what I would have the mentality of using your shift for your clones, and that's not what's happening here. Your team is just walking out the site. Just stick your clones more behind your strange, pocket him, and then you can get damage off when they're behind the shield, right?
By the eye of Agamotto!
Like, imagine we had our shift right there. Like, we wouldn't die. But your Hela might die because she's a little bit further back, but there's a chance she would have been standing here, right? Like, don't use the shift like that. Okay. I mean, now we're really going for it. I mean, I respect the hustle, but we are not Doctor Strange, you know? Like, we do a bunch of damage, but the thing is, we do that damage because we're a ranged character that spams from behind our team, which allows our clones to play behind it. And I know we can walk up and be invincible for a bit like this, but it's way better if we save that for when we need it. It's like, again, it's similar to a defensive ulti. Like, would you really want a defensive ulti right here where these guys can all just walk away? It's like, no, we don't want to do that because then they're at a big advantage. So treat it more like that. I think you're making a similar mistake with your defensive ulti and your shift, where we're using it when we really don't need to. Like, look where they are. They're just like, oh, he uses a shift, cool. Let's just chill over here and make it so he has to walk out of his shift to get the point, right? Like, you can't do anything here. You can just tickle a shield a little bit, and now you don't have your shift. Yeah, so you do have invis ulti. That works too. I'd probably try and calm, like, say, do we have do we have a defensive for that? Like, because I don't really, I mean, it's not ideal because now we're kind of far away from our team, and because of the fact that we had invis ulti and did use it, we could have just been there and been full HP right with our team, ready to continue to play. That's a good shift. We used it because we're going to die if we don't use it. That's an obvious shift, right? Good use. Good job. That said, again, the real reason that we're there is because we teleported when our invis was up anyways, so I would have preferred if we didn't teleport and just save our team, walked into the invis ulti. Especially because your Magneto also bubbled you when that happened. I would have put a clone forward if you're going to shift. Okay, with your clones, you can also have clones up on this area. You can put a clone here, by the way. It's really good, and there's a thing that moves up here, and I'm 99% sure. I remember from watching like someone who actually knows their shit about Loki that it doesn't push the clone off or anything. So this clone can be really good for just chilling up here and getting damage off and healing your team here. So if possible, have your clones bit more cleverly placed when you get the opportunity to. Like when you're stuck in here, it's absolutely fine, right? Because like we can't move out when they're more like pressuring up here. But we get up here, it's like we have a bit more freedom. We have a bit more ability to move around and actually put our clones down in different places.
I am strengthened for battle.
You don't want to have just two clones sitting out here right now. When you can avoid it, you don't. It's good to. In most scenarios, you don't want both the clones like directly next to each other, because you'll the enemies will see them and very quickly take out both of them. It can be good in positions where like your enemies really can't deal with the clones, and you have you're like taking advantage or something. But this is they can very easily just walk to the side here and just ignore your clones. Like it's not really a giant threat.
Thanks so much. See hell. I've got you covered. A nice deep.
I like having a clone here now because this is where our team is really pushed up, and we're able to pocket our team. And this one clone will make a big difference.
Freeze. Much better. We've got trouble.
I don't know about committing both clones to it though, because I think both the clones are gonna die really fast, and then when they make their engage, you're not gonna have the clones.
We are undefeatable.
Not the most necessary shift.
We are undefeatable.
Okay, right here, a little bit more. This is slightly more advanced, just to get. This is gonna be to get the most bang for your buck. Okay, when you hear the Mantis ulti, you want to tell your team back up, back up, back up, back up. You say back up. I'm going to ult point. Okay, and then you copy invis. Yes, 100% instantly copy her. Make it so that you don't get in a position where you can't see her or something. But don't instantly use the ulti. Okay. You want to then watch, see what's happening. You want to be ready to ult this when your team needs it. Okay. When the enemy is ulting in with a defensive, that they choose to engage with defensive. If you're not under immediate risk of dying, that's actually a mistake by the enemies because it allows you this kind of window where you are safe and you don't have to defensive ult yet, and then you can counter and to counter defensive ulti with a lot of time where they don't have their ult active anymore. So it is good that we don't ult immediately, and then we ult right here. I would just not be looking at the ground for quite as long, because I want to see what's going on. I don't know if we need to ult yet. You also want to be very aware of Strange pushing next to you because he could ult, and when you're copying Invisible Woman, you can push him away. So just, I don't know, that might be a little bit more tricky because it's, you're Loki ulting a different character, and that's a skill of that other character. But it's still important as Loki because you should be copying Invis quite a lot as Loki, and her push is a very strong ability. So I would be a little concerned about the Strange. Where'd he go? Yeah. You see a Strange walk behind you. You don't ignore him because he's gonna walk behind you and ult. I mean, I don't know why the Strange didn't just ult you here. Like, Strange ult can definitely kill through your ulti. Maybe he doesn't have the charge. Let me see. That's you're Strange.
Anyone willing to help?
Oh, he doesn't have any charge on his E. That's why. Okay, but he could have had charge. Like, he could have been walking behind you with full charge. That's the thing, though. And if you don't know this about Strange, he has a little meter, and if this is like 100, then he ults you, you're dead. That's just kind of how it works.
A nice deep freeze.
By the eye of
I definitely would say we need to respect the Strange more.
Agamotto.
That is somewhere where, I mean, he is very easily able to walk onto you here.
Eye of Agamotto.
Your Strange plays it well and ends up bullying him back. I imagine, though, that if we have that happen when we're getting ulted by a Strange, that we know where he is. I'm gonna guess that's probably costing you in some other games, though.
Feel the wrath of the goddess.
That is tough. I will say the one thing is that I don't think you need the shift. You're the only one here, right? And at this point, we should know that we're teleporting this. Like, I mean, you should know that you can't block Storm ulti with your shift. That's not something it can do. So we should teleport to our clone and not use the shift. Because right here, at this point, if you get pressured, you could be using shift. But I would definitely, I mean, at this point, you know, your clones are, I don't think you really have many clones up right now, right? Yeah, their clones are kind of all dead. You have 2 abilities that'll put clones down right now, so you could just drop your E here and do a right click here and then shift. And I think that would help your team a lot out in this situation. So I think we kind of wasted our shift in a way that made it so. I mean, you remember how before you were doing your little like firing squad, where we used it kind of just to keep our clones up? That right there is not a time that we want to use it to keep our clones up. This, however, would be a shift where the E here and your right click here would be useful not only for the raw healing your team, but also for keeping your clones up right here, because that could actually provide a lot of help because we don't have any clones, and we also aren't in a position where we can very easily put clones down in the best spots right now. So just going E right click shift could make a very big difference here for having the clones up. And also for, you know, obviously saving your team. If you're going to teleport, don't waste a shift. Okay, off the bat, I'll say this map has one of the best spots for Loki in the entire game, which is sitting on top of this thing to your right. Like, a lot of Lokis. I mean, I would definitely do this. Like, my main Loki, this is for my playground right here, right? Playing the high ground here, super good. And if you're not playing up here, at least have clones up there. But I would think that I think what usually is good is you're kind of playing your team here for like, you know, contesting choke if you have control point. And then when a brawl starts actually happening, like either your team's coming in and fighting them or they're coming in and fighting you, then you like switch up here and then you play up here during the brawl because this is now we have line of sight everything that we need to. But then the brawl ends and then you move with respect to the longer angle that you need to see. That's how I'm pretty sure you're supposed to play that on this map. Like right here, potential in here. I will say, okay, off the rip, you do consistently get out before your whole team, which I think situationally could be good if you have like a setup that you need to do quickly before the enemy team all gets there. But that's not what we're doing. What we're doing is we're getting here first, and we're putting all our clones down. This seems to be your trademark play. Yeah, this is your trademark play. I don't know where we picked this up. If this is like what someone else said regarding how to play Loki, like a guide or something, firing squad, do this off the rip, get your ult charge really fast, yada yada. Um, I would definitely question it because this does seem like a very big waste of a very important piece of utility. So I don't like this. This seems to be your trademark move. I don't like your trademark move. I am sorry. this this seems like your shift is so versatile, strong, good. It blocks so many things, starts on so many things. I I think we could very easily accomplish the same kind of thing as a firing squad if we just waited for a second and had our clones like behind, or at least one of our clones here, maybe one of our clones off somewhere more sneaky like here, and have that clone be behind where your front line is, especially with double shield tank. Like these guys can block a lot of damage. We can have our clone like sitting up here too, like behind our team, where it's not gonna get deleted. I don't think we need to dedicate our shift to it.
Your powers are
I
mine!
am ready to put on a show.
I will say, for this specific situation, if we are Luna ulting relatively soon, like did we not have the ult charge for it? No, we already okay. I was gonna say if we were like maybe 80% ult charge and you're doing this to very quickly generate a Luna ult, maybe if your Luna didn't already have ulti, it could be really good. Because then by the time your Luna ult ends, you'd have shift back, and at that point I'd be like, okay, that is a specific play that I'm kind of on board with. That could work. But there's a few reasons I don't agree with it. Number one, you're 97%, like, or before doing this, what, You're 93. You don't need to do that. You fire like 2 shots regularly, you're gonna have ulti. Also, your Luna has ulti, right? So you're not in a panic to get your ult up here. So I disagree with this. Um, I think that we should use our clones a bit more conservatively here, just by waiting for our team and putting them more kind of behind our front line. Because what I see that is really loud. The way I see value in this would be something cheesy, like the enemies aren't paying attention, they walk into this and die, right? Which as Celestial, if you want to get higher than Celestial 3, you can't rely on cheesy shit where it's just like someone isn't paying attention, right? You have to respect your opponents. Assume that they are awake and are not going to be doing stupid, silly stuff. You have to try and outplay them in a way that is hard to outplay, right? And it's not hard to just walk to the side and not get shot by 3 Loki clones. So yeah, I will say the one time I think this could be useful is if you desperately need to get a support ult very quickly, and it's Luna Snow ult where it's so long that you'll have your shift by the time the ult ends anyways. The reason that I don't agree with that logic right now is because we don't necessarily want to use our Luna Snow ult right now, right? There's no guarantee that we absolutely need that defensive ulti right now. Okay, yeah, I don't like this ulti. The reason is these guys, again, look where they are relative to your team. Alright? These guys are sitting right here and they can very easily walk out. There's literally no pressure on any of these guys to just walk backwards for a second, right? And you could do something like this, ideally not this passive, but it could be similar if the point was unlocked where we can get first cap, because first cap does make a big difference. But the point isn't even unlocked at this point. Like these guys could be sitting here, right? And then maybe that like they gets to the point where it's about to unlock. Like okay, now they could start walking up, contesting it when your ult is halfway done. I mean, now your ult's over. I mean, how much did it really do? Not a ton, right? I mean, they kind of walked backwards. They pocketed their tanks because they were totally safe. They avoided the world's worst range ulti, and they're chilling, right? Also, one thing I do want to mention as well. This is you couldn't have done it this fight, but you're running Loki and Luna with Namor, and there is a very, very strong combo of Namor and Luna ulti where Namor ults, and right as his whale is like hitting the ground, Luna Snow switches her ultimate to damage with Namor inside it, and it will make the whale one-shot any normal health character um, within the entire ultimate, not just a small circle. So that's something that you could try and coordinate with your team. In my experience in solo queue and like Celestial, not every Namor is really gonna do that. But if you see like a Lord Namor, you should really try and do that. Um, I know this guy's not Lord, but actually, well, maybe he is. I don't think it actually shows in the replay. I mean, they just did a nothing burger ulti as well. Like, I don't really think they needed this. I mean, look at the enemy team's ult. Like, what is this doing? What is this ulti doing? So it's not just you. It looks like people in this elo are consistently making this kind of mistake, right? If you be the player that doesn't make this kind of mistake, I promise you're gonna get way more value of the ultimate. You also just use a shift inside of Invisible Woman ulti. You do not want to do that. Let's go back to your perspective now. I mean that seems a bit of a blunder. I mean, our invis clearly ulted there, and we're putting down clones, like spam placing clones to try and shift with this. I think that just shows a little bit of a lack of awareness. Also, when this ult ends, especially with invis ulti active, I would probably just teleport up here and kind of set up clones. Like I see you love doing your little firing squad here, and if there is any place in the game that is good to do a firing squad, I mean, look, you can look at that value. We got a rocket res here. That's kind of unrelated though. They're lucky. Rocket shouldn't put res there. But if there's any place that is good to do a firing squad of Lokis, it is right here. This is the spot. I guarantee it. Especially because you know that the enemy's not playing high ground, which means they're not just gonna walk up here and get rid of you. You teleport up here mid-fight, mid-brawl, and have an armada of clones getting all this value, like all this damage off from these guys. Oh my goodness, is gonna be effective. Like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oops. Let's watch the perspective right here. All right. Look at all this value you'd get. You could also kill that res. You could be, if your clones were here, you know, I probably wouldn't have them right there, just because then um, someone could see the clone before you see them if you're playing right here. We have like clone here, and you play like right here. I mean, you get so much value up here. And this just goes to show this isn't the only way that you could use your utility, but compared to the way that you just used it down there, this proves that there is definitely a better way for you to be using your clones here. Because what do these clones do? They shifted. I mean, you shifted during an invis ulti. That's just a blunder. Don't do that. And then these clones did nothing. Absolutely nothing.
This is real firepower. That is much better.
I am ready.
It does seem that we are just putting our clones down anywhere near us. And sometimes it is good to do the clones near us, but we do a lot of the time. I don't here. I don't know. I didn't talk about it a bunch right now, but the standard way that you want to be using your clones as Loki that I'm aware of is you have one more aggressive clone that can be up here, like ready to shoot your team, or it could be at an off angle, dealing a bunch of damage. Right? It's the clone that's a bit more expendable and doing something more dangerous. And then you want a clone ideally kind of behind you or somewhere safe that's going to be more conservative and is for primarily healing your team and also dealing damage when it's like when enemies are in range of it too, or line of sight of it too. What you don't want is to just put clones down where they're both going to die instantly, because if you have one more aggressive clone that does die a bit more frequently, that's not the end of the world, because you can afford to be relatively consistently replacing one clone. That's manageable. But if you're having to consistently replace two clones, that's a problem. You cannot consistently replace two clones. That is more clones than Loki's kit provides. There are times when you won't be with that specific setup. I think that comes with experience playing Loki. For example, like teleporting up here mid-fight and then setting up a firing squad. That can be really valuable too. But again, that's not a situation where you're just putting clones down in front where the enemy's gonna kill them like instantly. This is a situation where you're getting value because it's an off angle, and you're doing something more deliberate with the clones. So yeah, rule of thumb: do not just put clones down wherever you feel like it, or just relatively close to you, because a lot of times these will just die, right? You have to be a bit more crafty with it.
To put on a show.
And like if you weren't gonna do the thing up we're telling up there, you could have a clone over here, right? And then you could have a clone maybe like back actually probably not back here. Maybe like right here. This could be quite good because it's not giving the entire line of sight to everyone, a bit more conservative, but it can see basically where your team is gonna be. Um, and be able to pocket them, right? That, or you can have it like right next to them here, because there probably will be a lot of opportunity for your strange to shield it. Matt, you have a clone right here that's a little bit less than line of sight. Healing the strange, perfect. And then you have the one over here that's harder to shoot going ham. Cool. And you notice that one dies? Okay, put another like sneaky clone. Like, I mean, you can just replace that one. Right, playing right here, just replace that one, right? Like, oh no, you killed my clone. Boop, put it back. And ideally, this one over here lasts a bit longer. I do think that Loki's clone positioning is very situational, and getting the perfect clone placement is not always as simple as just do this specific formation. Um, it is a skill. It takes experience. And I think over time, if you play a ton of Loki, you'll get better at knowing exactly how to use the clones. But what I said is just a kind of a guide of how to start thinking about the clones to get the value out of them. Also, one more thing I want to say is in one of the other comments, I told it was a diamond Loki. Um, you can probably very easily find it in the Reddit post. I linked a YouTube channel of a different person who plays a lot of Loki. I'd highly recommend looking at that content because it it kind of gives you an insight as to how they use clones, and you'll see that it's a bit more deliberate. Like, this is better than the previous firing squads because we're behind our front line, right? And like the one where we came at the point here at the start and used our shift that wasn't behind our front line. This is a bit better. Um, I just the thing I'm concerned about is that we need to make sure that we don't tunnel vision on this. And the second these guys start coming out, then we start actually thinking about, okay, maybe I put a clone up here, and I put a clone over here, or like on top of this thing. Maybe I teleport up here and have all my clones up here, and I'm playing at an off angle, right? We need to be ready to transfer from this firing squad.
It seems we have company. By the eye.
I like that we're playing further back here. We're not walking too close to this range. What the heck did our Luna ult, or our Luna do ulting there? I don't know. We had a Doctor Strange.
By the
Oh, it's actually... No, Strange can shield this. Yeah, pretty sure Strange can shield that. She could also like walk to the side behind Strange. This is a yikes Luna ulti.
eye.
Plus, you're behind her. You can. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's a little bit tricky because seeing a Strange walking at you and ulting as Luna Snow is a little scary. But again, though, like, it's another instance of this defensive ult does nothing. It does nothing. Like, look at the enemy team. Oh no, they defensive ulti. What are we gonna do? We will, just stay where we are. Like, you see, they're trying desperately to get the most value out of their ulti, but like, what value are they gonna get, bro? Nothing. I know that wasn't you, but like, just as a frame of reference, it's kind of similar to what you were doing. So just, take note. Look how unimpactful that ult was. What happened there? Oh, I see. Nemo's right here. You can't ignore that guy. Absolutely, you cannot ignore him. Yeah, you need to respect that. That's just cut and dry. Respect that. This is an example of where we want the invisibility, right? Because this one's about to go away. All right, now look at this situation. It is not where the enemies are over here and our team is here. Look, there's a Namor here. There's a Rocket over here. There's Doctor Strange and Penny on point. And there's a Rocket amplifier. This is a absolute brawl, right? There's even a squid behind right here. Like, this is a brawl, right? And it also means the enemies can't easily walk away, right? Because if we push these guys back and they walk away, Namor's gonna die because we're gonna be able to very easily kind of collapse on him. He can't easily just walk all the way here without our team killing him. Not to mention we saw him use bubble too. So this is the kind of situation we would want to use ulti. So I would be 100% down for as we look here. We just saw 3 of them walk into the invis ulti. We know there's 3 people in that ulti. Namor's flying at us. We don't have a choice. We can't sit here. We have to respect Namor. And we have two options. One is we teleport like somewhere where he can't see us that's like away from our team, like over here or here, which I don't like because that opens up the possibility that our team will be here fighting without our ulti because we teleported away somewhere else. Or the other option is we teleport into this Invis ulti and we instantly ult Invis for this fight. That, I think, in this situation is a much better option. I'm going to go back to what I mentioned before about the Namor and Luna. Right here, we think about it, I mean, we know that they don't have Invis. We're unsure about Luna. She's actually 86, which basically means she's going to have it in this next fight. One thing to know about Namor ulti is that we can definitely kill their whole team that are inside a Luna ulti by using Luna Namor ulti. So if we can ult in a way that forces them to match with Luna ulti, we can try and do that combo and kill them and win the fight. So something to consider calming. Your solo queue teammates won't always do it, but it's worth trying. If you meant to copy Strange ulti here, I don't know about that.
By the eye of Agamotto!
I think one of the issues you face with copying Strange is you don't have the charge, right? And you have to get the charge to do the big one shot. So unless your team is gonna go and kill all them while they're stunned for you, it's really not ideal. And usually I'd think that's just a misclick, but it looks like you're really looking at Strange here. If you meant to copy Strange, I wouldn't copy Strange here. If you meant to copy Luna, then RIP. Your aim looked a little off, so try and focus a bit more on Luna. That effectively did nothing, and now you don't have a defensive ulti, which is going to make winning this fight extremely difficult. I mean, now these guys have Luna and Namor combo, bro. Like, this is terrifying. They play this right, it's super hard for you to win. They actually did the Luna Namor combo. Watch. Right. You see how she's gone to damage right before this whale ends and Namor's standing inside it? That's gonna do the amplified damage. It misses, but that's the idea. If you like, I think he was going for your invis there, and if he, or no, it was Luna. If he didn't botch it, then that would just be Luna dead. But did he land that? No, he didn't. He missed. Wait. Oh, he did. Look at that. Alright. And you know, it's if you had Luna ulted, I know the fight would have gone totally differently. And they wouldn't be like the exact same positions here. But look, this is like your Namor landed an ult on their ulting Luna. And if we had copied Luna ulti, that opens the opportunity for us to actually have this be a kill, because it insta kills her. So that is just another thing where Luna ulting would be a lot better than Strange there. Not to mention you were the only defensive ulti available to your team there, and they hadn't Luna ulted in a while, so it was pretty clear they had Luna ulti. So that is going to make a very big difference not having defensive ulti there. I don't like putting the clones here because it's 20% here. Your team needs to walk up, and these clones are going to be totally useless in about like 10 seconds. And we're going to be low on clones. So this is an issue here because we need to have clones that impact the point when we're going to point. It could be okay if you were like desperately trying to rack up ult charge to try and support ult for the next fight or something. But your Luna already has ulti, and you're not going to get ulti in time for that. too far up as well. Look where your Luna and Invis are. It's back here a bit more. This would be better. Yeah, you do seem to be playing a little bit in the front line too much as Loki.
The Eye of Agamotto!
Let's keep fighting until we have a winner.
Right here again. This is actually an opportunity where your team isn't really at risk of dying because you have Luna ult on the board, so you can 100% look at teleport up here. I know Namor's right here, but I mean, you could also just like teleport here, set up clones and try to nail this guy. You can also just kill these squids real quick, then shoot Namor, right? That's gonna get this guy off high ground or have to do something, which is great value. Um, I don't like us just, yeah. These clones are missed opportunities for getting more value due to being in off angles.
This is real firepower!
And we're also missing out on this is like the best Loki spot in the game. Definitely take advantage of this spot.
Your powers are mine!
That is a good invis ulti. That is a good invis ulti because we're in a situation where our team is actually at risk of dying. We're under kill pressure. They have a rocket amplifier up, and there's a strange behind us. That is a good ulti. With a more top high, that is a good defensive ulti. That is a good use of it. It's a committed fight where your team doesn't have the option of just walking backwards from a large amount of pressure that is being produced by the enemy team. So it's a response to offensive pressure. And I would say it's an appropriate response. Okay, 100%. Okay, these guys are portaling. That means this angle should be of much less concern anyways, right? We set up right here. 100%. Because look, I know their team actually... Oh, oops. Let me do that. I know their team is actually coming partially from right here. So there will be people coming down this. But a portal happens, I mean, we should kind of assume that at least a large majority of their team is coming through this portal, right? And if we have clones here, and they drop out of this portal, this is not the spot they're going to be looking at first. So these clones should get an absolute ton of value, right? You have the clones up here. Oh my gosh, like we're going to be getting so much damage off the rip here. This is what I want to see. You'll get a lot more impact this way. You know what? For this last fight, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put the perspective right here for a sec. Alright, so right here, you teleport, and you have clones right here. Alright, imagine you're getting so much damage, you're destroying this thing, you're destroying this strange. You look at invis, deleted, right? Look how much, I would say that strange thing would be like, they might have died right there with that amount of damage. That those guys playing up here, invis with half HP playing out here for a second, we might have killed her too. Like, this is such a good angle. Use this on this map, please. And I mean, of all the places to play, that is not the one we want to play as Loki. Because, I mean, we are not a brawly frontline character. I know we definitely don't want to just sit back here. I'd agree with that because this is a bad angle for our projectile. I mean, this really is just the best position. You have cover to play around. This is so good. Use this spot. Okay, well, thank you so much for participating. Definitely the biggest issues I see was there's usage of ultimate. That is, I would say it's the number one, is using the ult a bit more effectively. Number two is regarding clone placement. And shift usage. Clone placement and shift usage. Just, we need to be a bit more conservative with our shift and take advantage of Loki's ability to place clones on high ground and reposition to playing high ground, and avoid playing in unnecessarily up and with your frontline positions. And you also want to be making sure that we do not have both of our clones dying really, really quickly due to us placing them um, both right in line of sight of enemies and in front of our front line. If you have any questions or feedback for me, please let me know. And thank you so much.